I decided that it's past time for things to be said that haven't been said. It's time to set the record straight.
There was a very real revolution in this country. We are now in charge. Our chairmen are in charge. We can hold hearings, the kinds of hearings that we want to see. A balanced budget amendment to the Constitution, a line item veto. We'll have a crime package, a welfare reform package, a tax cut package. I would like to eliminate the Department of Education, the Department of Energy, HUD, seriously pare down the Environmental Protection Agency, OSHA. We're going to have a health care reform package. We're going to stop the devastation of our national defense and some other things. We're going after it, and we're going to completely redesign our government. The National Endowment for the Arts, we ought to zero them out. The National Endowments for the Humanities, we ought to zero them out. And we will do a lot of that, and looking forward to it.
We must not let our work be undermined by pandering permanent politicians and partisans. We are in solid control.
By the time we finish this poker game, there may not be a federal government left, which would suit me just fine, but...
This is where Sugar Land got its name, and it's the oldest continuously operating business in Texas, 1846.
The labor was all the prisoners.
And maybe slaves.
Yeah, well, that could be, yeah. I am a very strong Republican. I believe in the Republican philosophy. I've worked all of my life, you know, since I could get on a bicycle and hand out little flyers along with my mother in the Republican Party. I believe in the Republican philosophy. I just want the best for the Republican Party, and I don't necessarily think Tom's it.
Well, I've been a Republican since I was a little girl, more or less. But I wasn't one of those kind of Republicans. Mm-hmm. I believe in what the Republican Party believes in, but I don't think that gang of thugs we have up there now believe that.
DeLay was, I think, very much a product of the system. If you had sat in the Texas legislature in 1984, which was the year that he was elected to Congress, and you'd looked around the room and said, who here is going to be a future majority leader of the United States House of Representatives, I venture to say that Tom DeLay would have been in the bottom 20% of that group. It was the 80s, and people were having lots of fun, and he had his lots of fun.
One of the things that irritates me the most about Tom was when he was at Sugar Creek Baptist Church one weekend at some kind of conference, telling the people there that they should vote for and they should elect godly representatives, almost like me, you know.
Oh, dear.
And then the next weekend, he flew an entire plane load of lobbyists to Las Vegas. And they got, don't you remember, they got in a big fuss, and Danny, his daughter, ended up pouring wine over some guy's head in the hot tub. And, you know, they used to call Tom Hot Tub Tom.
Bev.
Tom DeLay is astonishing. He spent most of his time partying and was not a factor, was ranked as furniture by one of the local magazines in assessing his legislative performance. But then he got religion. He found Jesus, or God found him, or something or other happened there. And he scampered off to Washington, D.C., where he considered himself God's man.
Tom did not get religion until he saw that the Christian Coalition were making some real inroads in Fort Bend County.
Yes.
We abdicated control of the Republican Party to them. They supported candidates, they knocked on doors, they worked phone banks, they did a lot of things that we let them do because we were too lazy to do them ourselves. And Tom saw that happening, and he became very religious himself all of a sudden.
There you go. I think he got born again after his first term. He had one term up in Washington and then found Jesus. And so now you have mixed in with, frankly, in my opinion, corrupt politics, a kind of moral certitude that is really an astonishing cocktail.
Everybody has a right to an opinion, and that's how you get things taken care of. But when there's one person in the party trying to dominate, and I mean Tom, trying to dominate the Sugar Land politics, the Fort Bend County politics, and American politics, it gets a little frustrating, you know. You're either a Tom Republican or you're not a Republican. Yeah, yeah.
You know, there's something wrong here.
This is the Texas Capitol. When Tom DeLay was a representative in this body, he was kind of a little fish. He wasn't a very powerful individual. He really didn't learn how to capture power and how to use the power of fundraising and the power of money until he went to Washington.
And now we'll hear from our newly elected Majority Leader, Mr. Tom DeLay.
Thank you, Madam
Congratulations.
Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. I tell you what, this is a very special day.
He has perfected the dark art of raising corporate money through all its various forms and to use it on behalf of his agenda and his own personal political career.
You know, DeLay said that when we reached 2 million, I stopped counting. No one in the history of the entire Congress, unless that person was running for president, has raised as much money as Tom DeLay. $12,500 a day, every day, when all of his machinery was up and working.
And so I am going to present this velvet hammer to the new Majority Whip. And Mr. Whip, I'd just like to tell you that you ought to use both hands until you get used to it.
There you go. DeLay runs the House in a way that is different from most past leaders. I say most because he's the lineal descendant of Newt Gingrich. Gingrich is the one who set the parameters, who set the tone, and DeLay has simply improved on that. In the final analysis, Gingrich wasn't as mean and tough as DeLay is.
DeLay got the nickname the Hammer very early in his career as whip because he began to basically put the hammer down on Democratic lobbyists and Democratic lobby organizations that either they had to support Republicans or he would try to have them fired.
So it was a deliberate effort to harness corporate money and corporate lobbying power for his own political agenda.
He's taken politics a step further than anybody had ever seen it before by going after the lobby, people on K Street in Washington, to insist that special interests hire only Republican lobbyists. I mean, that's really extraordinary. Nobody ever did that before Tom DeLay.
Never before has an individual who has been steadfast to our principles risen as high as Tom DeLay. Thank God Tom DeLay is the Majority Leader in the House.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear.
Tom DeLay is who all of us want to be when we grow up.
Hear, hear.
Congressman.
There absolutely was a master plan.
Tom DeLay's goal was a permanent majority of Republicans in the U.S. Congress.
It was an extraordinary power grab. He didn't want to win a legislative battle. He wanted to crush the opposition.
To get the congressional seats that he wanted out of Texas, he had to take control of the Texas legislature.
Tom DeLay focused his money machine to help the Republicans take over in the Texas House of Representatives. He needed the House of Representatives to redistrict the state of Texas so he could gain a Republican majority, gain more seats in Congress.
The fondest hope that DeLay had really had nothing to do with Texas and everything to do with national political power in Congress.
Tom DeLay was, he was behind this. This was his grand scheme. Tom DeLay was Trim PAC. You couldn't make it happen without him. It was a leadership PAC that he formed to raise and spend corporate money in Texas. They had to win the state house, and they did so by spending $1.6 million. They won the House, then they set about redrawing the state's congressional lines. 3 years after the census. And that's how Tom DeLay got 5 additional seats in Congress. You know, I honestly think that the Republicans deserve more seats here, but not that many and not in a way in which if you couldn't get them, you would come and steal them. What they failed to calculate was 2 things: that it's against the law to raise and spend corporate money in Texas. 1. 2, that there was one prosecutor in this state of 250-some counties. There was one DA in one county who would say, these people broke the law. Ronnie Earl said, you can't break the law in Texas and brag about it.
What's funny is the regular run-of-the-mill work of a prosecutor's office, which sounds like a horror story, murder, rape, robbery, burglary, theft, child abuse, all these horrible things that people do to each other. It's hard to see the connection between the abuse of the democratic process and dealing crack, for example, or robbing a 7-Eleven. But there is a connection, and my people are beginning to understand that. My office has the same jurisdiction that every other DA has in Texas, whereas we're responsible for the prosecution of felony offenses that occur within Travis County. Since the state government is located in Travis County, that means that many of the crimes that involve state government fall within our jurisdiction to prosecute.
To be a DA and a prosecutor in one county, but be assigned the duty to police political wrongdoing for every state office holder is a huge, huge responsibility.
Ronnie Earl is the kind of prosecutor that Travis County and Austin really want. He is offended by big money in politics. Now, whether it's illegal big money or not, that's what this is all about.
Texas law makes it a felony for a corporation to contribute money to a political campaign.
I don't know whether he's prosecuting people on a partisan basis. I don't know. I do find it a little amusing that he talks about how he's prosecuted more Democrats than Republicans in his career. Well, for the bulk of his career, there weren't any Republicans around to prosecute.
When people use the law, flagrantly just violate the law out of a desire to better their economic condition, they're no different than a thief or a robber who does it with a gun.
He has a bit of a temper, just a little bit of a temper, but he never loses it around here, but he's a scrapper.
Liberals for years were accused of being soft on crime, and that was just the worst thing you could be, was soft on crime. You had to be tough on crime to get elected in Texas. Well, Ronnie Earl is not soft on crime. He's, of course, the death penalty, but he has also been an amazingly progressive DA.
It's important that we forgive those who come to us in a spirit of contrition and a desire for forgiveness. That's important. But if they don't, then God help them.
There was a lot of corporate money going into the 2002 election because they were looking forward to a Republican takeover of the legislature.
The future of the state of Texas is at stake in this election.
2002 elections were really important in the Texas House because the margins between Democrats and Republicans were very thin. It was like 78-76, 78 Democrats, 76 Republicans.
We got to understand the implication of that.
Tom DeLay needed to win a certain number of seats in order to take control. They may have won those seats anyway, but there's nothing that says that they would have if they didn't have the financial advantage.
They flooded the state house elections with money so that they could capture the state house and then redraw the U.S. congressional lines as they wanted them. It's a huge crime. It's the theft of elections.
Hello, my name is David Langefeld. We're in Hamilton, Texas. Hamilton, Texas is the county seat of Hamilton County, Texas. Having lived here all my life, I felt like that I brought a pretty good understanding of the people of this area. To have the opportunity to serve in the legislature was really a big deal to me. I was elected in November of '98, served the 99-2000 legislative term. And so I was targeted. It's the Capitol on fire and leaning to the left. They began to flood the mailboxes with mailers that just purely painted me as being a liberal, a tax and spend Democrat. Corporate money was used in these elections to support specific candidates. Maybe we're all supposed to be idiots, but here's a picture of my opponent, Sid Miller, on a Texas Association of Business mailer. Here's the executive director's picture, Bill Hammond. Now, if that's not candidate specific, I don't know what is. The person that has the most money oftentimes wins. I probably was not all that aware that Tom DeLay was directly involved in this activity. But then there began to be some revelations of the fact that money was flowing from one organization to another. Texans for a Republican Majority funnel that money to these campaigns or paid for these mailers with corporate dollars. My day is over. I've lost my race and I'm no longer in the House, and I regret that. Am I angry about it? Sure, I get angry about it. Am I hurt? Sure, I'm hurt. I loved serving. I loved serving in the House, and I felt like I had a lot that I could offer. But I am concerned about the use of corporate money in these races. This isn't the way people should be represented by big business and big money.
Texas has a statute that limits corporate contributions to elect or to defeat a candidate. Corporate money was solicited in 2002 by Trim PAC and spent in ways that are essentially without precedent.
One thing that the money did was build a lot of loyalty for Tom DeLay because he had helped organize all of this. His political action committee, Trim PAC, was very much involved in it. So you had loyalty to DeLay, and when DeLay wanted to redistrict, Republicans were certainly in a mood to help DeLay get what he wanted.
Here was Tom DeLay, very powerful leader. He's perhaps the most powerful member of Congress. Yet the congressional delegation was made up of a majority of Democrats. Tom DeLay needed to change that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, today on the floor,
Tom DeLay's goal was a permanent majority of Republicans in the U.S. Congress, that by any means necessary, do whatever it is that you're going to do to accomplish the goal of stacking the Congress into the future.
What we found coming into Texas was for Texas House races, was money from all over the country. Was $25,000 from the Williams Company of Oklahoma, which was an energy company that had some relation to Texas, but why were they pouring money into Texas? $25,000 from Westar of Kansas.
It had a particular provision in the law that it wanted to have changed. It wanted a provision taken out of the energy bill. And so as part of its efforts to do that, its representatives had contacted House Majority Leader Tom DeLay.
One corporate vice president writes to another, isn't Tom DeLay a Texas guy? $25,000? Why are we giving $25,000 to Tom DeLay?
They were told that in order to get a meeting with Tom DeLay to discuss their need for this legislation, that they needed to make a $25,000 contribution to an organization called Texans for a Republican Majority.
Westar's attorney has admitted that they spent that $25,000 in order to win, to gain influence with Tom DeLay.
I mean, when a powerful politician can demand $25,000 for FaceTime for large moneyed interests, I mean, something's wrong. I mean, what happens to FaceTime for John and Jane Citizen who are raising 2 kids and they got 2 jobs apiece and kids don't have insurance? I mean, what about FaceTime for them and the problems that they're facing? Those are the problems that the country's facing.
You see the third paragraph beginning with question, who is leading Texans for Republican Majority?
Yes. The leadership of the PAC includes Congressman Tom DeLay, Railroad Commissioner...
There's been a lot of speculation about who might be the subject of indictments, as there is in any high-profile case.
Ronnie never set out to indict Tom DeLay. That was never anything we even talked about when we began this investigation. So what's at stake for him is only what he says, which is these folks have come in and used big money to try to buy democracy.
This is a true and correct copy of correspondence you sent to one Mr. Friedman?
Correct.
Who is Mr. Friedman?
He is an executive with Maxim Inc.
Can you read the second paragraph beginning with, there are no special procedures?
There are no special procedures for making a contribution to our organization. It is permissible by law for Maxim to make corporate contributions to our efforts. Your contribution is non-disclosable according to relevant state laws.
Why would you want to stress that his contribution was non-disclosable?
I don't believe I was stressing it. It's just fairly standard.
It came to our attention that Trim PAC, the DeLay PAC, had actually been keeping 2 sets of books. When you looked at the IRS filings from Trim PAC, that those filings showed $500,000 of corporate money that DeLay's PAC had never reported to the Texas Ethics Commission. It was an illegal expenditure and illegal fundraising on their behalf, and it was illegal because they tried to hide it from Texans.
You can't do that. That's illegal. When I saw that, it became my obligation to investigate to see whether or not a crime had been committed, and if so, to prosecute that crime.
Ronnie was the only person in maybe a group of 6 or 7 lawyers in a room who thought we ought to go ahead and investigate and look at those things. We got sued every time we turned around. We got taken to court over this, and Ronnie was the one who just kept pushing forward with it and saying, I'll put more resources on this, just keep hacking at it.
We had discovered that there was this $190,000 that went up to Washington. 2 weeks later, $190,000 comes back to Texas. What had gone up was corporate money. What came back was hard money or legal money. Can you give me your definition of hard money and soft money?
As I understand the definitions of hard and soft money, the hard, what is referred to as hard dollars, are those dollars raised from individuals. My understanding of soft money is those are dollars raised from either corporate or labor sources.
Trim PAC, when they sent the $190,000, They didn't literally send money up there. They sent a blank check to Jim Ellis, Tom DeLay's aide. We still don't know the full story, but anytime you're talking about sending blank checks around the country, that's a story.
Can you tell us who James W. Ellis is?
Jim Ellis is, I suppose you'd call him a political consultant also.
Does he work for Congressman DeLay?
It works for an organization called PAC, which is Americans for Republican Majority PAC, which was, I believe, formed by Congressman DeLay.
Okay. Who is Warren Robaugh?
His primary job, I believe, was trying to gather large donations.
Who was responsible really for the day-to-day operations of TrimPAC during 2002?
That would be John Caliandro. His duties were basically running the organization, hiring consultants, being sure the money was properly accounted for, deposited in the bank, that reports were filed.
John is a devout Catholic. He is a true believer in the Republican sense. He's worked with a lot of the people, Republican names you'll see around the country, like Karl Rove. He worked with other people that you would recognize from state politics, the governor, the attorney general here. So he's been involved in Republican politics. He's not a person who's motivated by money. He's not he drives a Volkswagen. I mean, he's not a big money person you'd think of when you dislike Republicans.
Now that the Republicans are in control of both the House and the Senate, I think the Republican elected officials believe, sincerely believe, and have good reason to believe as far as they're concerned, that the Public Integrity Unit and the District Attorney of Travis County is totally partisan driven.
It is common in organized crime prosecutions for the defense tactic to be deny the allegation and attack the alligator, and that's what they're doing.
Clearly, he has made a lot of public statements in which he's indicated that he thinks he's, on a mission to right what he perceives to be a threat to democracy, which I perceive to be a threat to the Democratic Party as opposed to democracy.
This is not about Democrats and Republicans. This is about cops and robbers.
He sees something that he believes is wrong. If you ask him when he says they're doing this and they're doing that, they say, all right, let's assume they're doing that, Ronnie. Is that against the law? He will say it's wrong. If you say, well, okay, let's assume that it's wrong. Where is it that it is against the law?
Mussolini said that fascism should more properly be called corporatism, since it represents the merger of state and corporate power. The great danger here is that merger of power of the state, the power of government, and the power of the corporation, because that will be the death knell of democracy.
But I would never question his motives in terms of his true beliefs. I think he's a zealot.
Outlaws operate on their particular frequency. For some outlaws, their frequency is a gun and a mask and a convenience store. For others, it's a pen, a fountain pen, and it's trust.
Tom DeLay was given an office in the basement of the Texas House. He called in members, Republicans, one at a time.
He was omnipresent. He was in the Capitol building. Everybody saw him. He was very visible. He made no secret of the fact that he was there shuttling back and forth between the two houses, pumping up the troops. We've got to get this done, win one for George W. And so the pressure was on Texas. We had to do this in order for our president to be able to function.
I talked to newspapers in the state, as well as to some of the other congressmen, about what DeLay had in mind, and they just laughed it off. They said, oh, the legislature's not going to do that. No one ever does that kind of thing. That would be crazy.
Well, DeLay woke up one morning in around 2000, had a great big bowl of Fruit Loops for breakfast, I think, and then said, you know what, I think I'll just redistrict Texas. And the whole idea of redistricting sounds complicated and makes you want to roll your eyes back in your head, but basically it is that a member of Congress should represent the same number of people that every other member of Congress represents. Since populations move every 10 years, we redraw the lines. And it turns out that there were a number of Democrats in Congress who were getting elected from Republican majority districts. And the people, those scamps, just were not going along the ideological and partisan lines that DeLay felt that they should. So he had this bright idea of let's just redistrict Texas.
What's strange about doing redistricting after the census or the 2001 period and coming back in and doing mid-decade redistricting in 2003 is that the official formal redistricting had already been done. People who had voted for one member of Congress now all of a sudden got their member of Congress changed in midstream by changing the lines. That's what makes it so egregious, because it took away their vote that they had already made in terms of choosing the best candidate to represent their interests.
I'm standing at the corner of Ronson Street and 38th in Austin, Texas. This entire county was its own congressional district. We knew our member of Congress. We could talk to that member of Congress. That member of Congress was from here. But Tom DeLay came into our county and sliced it and diced it, mangled and strangled our democracy, carving all of this up into 3 separate congressional districts. Look at what he's done to it. You take a step over this way, that congressional district goes all the way to San Antonio, 90 miles away where that member of Congress lives. Step over here, that district goes to Houston, where that member of Congress lives, more than 100 miles away. And down this district right here, it goes all the way to the Mexican border, 400 miles away. That's the distance from Washington, D.C. to Boston, or Los Angeles to San Francisco. That's not a community of interest. This telephone pole right here is where Tom DeLay's 3 congressional districts come together, the districts that splinter our city. Now, the good news is a fight was made against that splintering. 52 stalwart Democrats took an extreme measure of going to Oklahoma to break the quorum so DeLay could not proceed.
The resolution to this problem is fairly simple and straightforward. Drop consideration of the unnecessary and unfair redistricting effort, and we all go back to work immediately in Texas.
Busting quorum on this particular day would effectively kill the redistricting bill for the regular session.
There's a rule that in the House, if you're not there and the Speaker wants you there, they send DPS agents and House sergeants out to look for you. Well, those 2 entities have no jurisdiction across state lines. Of course, we knew that.
Ardmore was the closest town across the river on I-35 as we dashed north from Austin.
It's the only thing we had left to do. In other words, there was no other option besides leaving and breaking the quorum. The House is at a standstill, so they can't function. For all intents and purposes, it hasn't been legislative day since we left.
And I want to remind people in Boston that we are under the Voting Rights Act because of the historical violation of the rights of minority peoples in the South. We can't resolve this because we have an extreme right.
So is anybody out of Washington running us? No. Back there in Austin, it's Tom DeLay telling them what to do. Here, it's our members deciding what they want to do.
This issue is about the greed of Congressman Tom DeLay, and that's the game we're refusing to play.
What we're really talking about is control of the United States House of Representatives, possibly for the next decade. And people know, I mean, people grew up playing Monopoly and Risk or whatever. Whoever makes the rules defines the outcome of the game. And they're trying to change the game rules right here in mid-play.
Just don't jam in.
In Ardmore, Oklahoma, while Republicans outrageously call them fugitives. Mr. President, tell Karl Rove to stop messing with Texas.
Right.
Tell Tom DeLay to withdraw his redistricting plan.
Make no mistake about it, this is something that's being driven straight out of the majority leader's office. And that's what's really broke the back of the Democratic Party in Austin is that this is the first time we have let somebody come in with this, arrogance and this partisanship to split our House. I mean, we don't do things in our Texas House that way. We usually work together.
They've created a card pack. These are the 52 fugitives.
I'm the ace of clubs.
We stayed in Ardmore, Oklahoma long enough to kill the bill. On late Thursday night, after the time had lapsed, we returned to the state of Texas. There were thousands of people on the Capitol grounds first thing Friday morning, all celebrating our victory.
We beat them by taking advantage of the rules that existed.
Tom DeLay would not take no for an answer, and he would be back down here in Austin, and suddenly the process would have new life.
We fought out the last battle on the floor, and, we lost.
All I can tell you is that going into that 2003 session, the lieutenant governor, the governor, were both saying publicly, we don't need to be doing redistricting. We got a lot of things on our plate. It's the third rail. We're not going to touch it. And before it was over, they were bending every rule, every tradition. Damn the torpedoes. There's some power there somewhere. I don't know whose it is or where it is, but it's there.
It's hardball, win at any cost, and nobody counts but the goal and objective. Even their own people are expendable if they're not on the program.
LBJ stole one election in 1948, which was his own, and that was his defeat of Coke Stevenson with Box 13 in Duval County. Tom DeLay stole 17, and he spent $1.6 million to do it.
We know as a result of the November 2004 elections that they were able to defeat 5 incumbent Democratic members of Congress.
When you take every state outside the state of Texas, the Republicans actually lost a couple of seats. But then when you factor in what happened in Texas, they had a net gain.
He got in 5 hard-line, Tom DeLay type politicians.
I came into Texas. I wanted redistricting to happen because the people of Texas had been sorely underrepresented. Their values and their Republican leanings were sorely underrepresented because of redistricting, and I wanted to change that. And the way you got to change that was to take the majority in the Texas House, and that was my goal. It was successful. We took the House, we did redistricting, we gained 5 Republican seats.
He was able to knock off 5 Democrats, so they dropped down by 5. But that means that 5 more Republicans got elected, so they're up by 5. So the spread is not 5 votes, it's 10 votes. So a 10-vote margin got added to the majority that was already there for the Republicans, and that has enormous impact on all of the people of this country.
If you look at actions on the war, if you look at continuing tax cuts for people who don't deserve them, then the margin to do harm increased. The people had a crime committed against them in terms of their votes.
There are many different views of when something is likely to happen. I heard all through June. The first indictments are coming at the end of June. Well, they didn't come. Then we hear September. And then you hear people say, no, 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 it'll look political, it's right before the election, it's not coming in September. I don't think anybody knows.
Signature in the day, please. Grand jury. Claire, Mark.
The grand jury that has been hearing evidence in the Trim PAC matter, they have presently one more meeting scheduled.
Yeah, I'll do that.
At that meeting, they could take some action or they could not take some action. I mean, it's entirely up to them, and I don't predict what they're going to do. I have learned through bitter experience that it is not always wise to try to predict what a jury or a grand jury, for that matter, will do. Grand juries in Travis County are notoriously independent of the prosecutor, and that's good. That's a good thing. I know what I think. I know where I'm coming from. I know what my goals are. I know what I think is important about this. I know what the law says. I have my own opinion about what the law means that I think most people would share. I think that most people believe that politics has to be regulated in order for it not to be ruled by the law of the jungle or the law of the playground, where the biggest or richest get to control. And that's kind of what this is all about.
Iris, George Kennedy's grand jury has finished with...
The indictments are printed on pink paper. They are given to the district clerk, and they become public record.
These will all go to the prosecutors, and they'll be the same set that I'll use to make copies for the media, who are probably waiting for them out front.
I think they're going to get the same indictments right now, so let me get the indictments.
Later this afternoon, the judge will sign them, then we'll bring them back down here and issue cases for their arrest.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming.
We anticipated that there might be some grand jury action today.
This morning, the Travis County Grand Jury returned 32 indictments stemming from... Indictments are John Caliandro, the Executive Director of Trim PAC, Warren Robold, a fundraiser connected to Trim PAC, James Ellis, another man connected to the political charged with money laundering, a first-degree felony offense.
They're all good citizens. They don't have criminal records. They're in important positions, and now they're under indictment.
Westera Corporation, a Charlottesville Westar Energy Incorporated, a Topeka, Kansas, of making a prohibited political contribution to Texans for a Republican majority. Diversified Collection Services, the Williams Company Incorporated, a Tulsa Cardi USA Incorporated, a Cracker Barrel Old Country Store Incorporated.
Taking a money laundering statute that was enacted to deal with cash transactions being perpetrated by drug dealers and drug smugglers, and they're trying to twist that into applying to campaign contributions and political contributions and in ways that it was never meant to extend to.
If I were Ronnie Earl, what did you expect me to do? Ignore this?
Sears Roebuck and Company, an Illinois-based retailer, made a $25,000 contribution on or Diversified Collection Services made a $50,000 contribution on or about $50,000 contribution from El Paso Energy Service Company, 2 contributions from Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railway.
Steve, do you think the public will look at this and see this also as an indictment of Tom DeLay and the business that he had going on?
Congressman DeLay is certainly disappointed in this activity, but stands firm that the executive director of Trim PAC, Caliandro, and others acted not only in their minds lawfully and took this money and dispensed it correctly, but they had legal counsel at that time. None of these people operate with this kind of money without having legal counsel. And
what fallout do you expect from these Texas indictments, and will they affect your ability to lead?
I've already spoken to that yesterday, and I spoke to you about it. So we're here to celebrate our accomplishments and what we're trying to do in the future.
Mr. DeLay's attorney this morning openly speculated as to why your office would return these indictments 5 to 6 weeks before the November election. He indicated that there could possibly be political ramifications to your timing. Would you address that?
Well, we would have been finished with this phase of the investigation a long time before now had it not been for the series of frivolous appeals and equally frivolous open records requests that took up about 1.5 years of the time of the staff.
You were saying, I'm assuming, that there was no political component to the timing of the return of the indictments.
Not only know, but they know better than that.
Is there any reason to believe that this investigation will lead to allegations of wrongdoing against Mr. DeLay himself?
I've been asked whether Mr. DeLay was a target, and my response has been consistent in that anyone who has committed a crime is a target.
I think that if Ronnie had enough evidence, if he had more legal basis for it, he would probably indict Tom DeLay.
In their opinion, the notion of the First Amendment trumps some of the allegations that you're making. Can you address that?
Free speech can't depend on who owns the microphone.
People were all doing their jobs. I think they were operating in a political season in a way that they thought was appropriate. Now we're going to find out whether they were right or not.
I mean, should the criminal process really be about whether you don't like Tom DeLay or you know, Tom DeLay is a difficult person to like.
Is this a warning to corporations out there? Be careful who you're giving money to, or
The law in Texas is clear. Corporate contributions are illegal. It's been clear since 1905, and the law speaks for itself.
Is that a no, sir?
Pardon me, but I don't remember the question.
How soon do you expect this to go to trial?
If what those citizens on the grand jury did today can produce a reaction that causes some stiffening of some spines in this country, then it will be a grand thing.
The sharks are still circling, trying to shred the president's free market agenda by attacking its leader in Congress, Tom DeLay. It's politics as usual, so much so that Ronnie Earl, the partisan prosecutor investigating DeLay's political activities, gave a speech attacking him to liberal activists, raising money to support high-tax, big government candidates. Know the facts. Know the truth. Say no to liberal big government. Stand behind the Bush free market agenda and its leader in Congress, Tom DeLay.
I understand the Democrat Party's adjustment to their national minority status is frustrating. But their crushing defeat in the elections earlier this month, after 2 more years of Democrat obstruction and vicious personal attacks, should show them that the American people are tired of the politics of personal destruction.
I was called by a reporter who said that Tom DeLay had said that I was partisan and vindictive. And I thought that was pretty funny. I said that being called partisan and vindictive by Tom DeLay is like being called ugly by a frog.
The hardest parts have been when we're attacked by the folks we're investigating, who are pretty powerful.
We have not set out to get anybody, Tom DeLay or Dr. No, because both the Democrats and the Republicans walk around corporate America, walk up and down corporate America's Main Street with their hand out, asking, you know, demanding. It's almost like protection money. I mean, this is a problem for our country. It's every bit as insidious as terrorism. A common experience in law enforcement that you don't always catch all those who are guilty. Not long after I became district attorney, there was a series of newspaper stories, scandal about Bob Bullock, who was then the comptroller of Texas. He was accused of all kinds of misdeeds and wasting state money and so forth. And so grand jury investigation began, and it lasted for a couple of years. He would hold a press conference every few weeks and accuse me of something worse. And finally, the grand jury determined after a long time not to indict Bullock, and it was all over. And we didn't exactly become friends, but 7 years later, we're sitting at his dining room table. He was a heavy smoker, which contributed to his fairly early death, and he was smoking a cigarette. And he looked at me through a haze of cigarette smoke and said, "You remember when you investigated me years ago?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I was guilty as hell."
I would say everybody's on edge around here. You don't know where the investigation's going to lead, and you don't know who it's going to lead to.
Football scrapbook, right? When you're a kid, you walk up to a big guy who's causing a big problem for you and you hit him. See, that's me right there. And you know that what's fixing to happen is not going to be very great, but you can't take it anymore, and so you just go up and you hit him right in the mouth.
Ooh, these money laundering indictments are long.
Are you almost ready? Because I think they want to start their recording devices.
They're fixing to be a really big fight, and you don't know how it's going to end. You don't know what's going to happen, but you know that this is really the only thing that you can really do. It's like that moment right after the missiles are launched, when it's real quiet, but it's not going to be quiet for long. Like the cowboy said to the rodeo rider, take a deep seat and get a faraway look in your eye. That's what this is like. I feel the great pressure to get the information to the public, to point, to set a tone and to point a direction, and to say which hill needs to be taken. I kind of dread what's coming because I know what's coming. There's going to be a huge explosion. There's going to be a chorus of, how dare you? Who do you think you are? But I'm telling you, this needs doing. Thank you for coming. The Travis County Grand Jury today returned an indictment charging Congressman Tom DeLay with conspiracy to violate the Texas Election Code.
Mr. DeLay, are you worried about this prosecution at all? Are you worried at all?
The indictment names John Coliandro and James Ellis as co-conspirators.
Now, Tom DeLay changed the face of Texas politics. Nobody can deny that. But Ronnie Earl wants to destroy him because of it. Just the bringing of this indictment has caused Tom DeLay to have to step down from his leadership role in the House of Representatives.
In accordance with the rules of the House Republican Conference, I will temporarily step aside as floor leader in order to win exoneration from these baseless charges. Now let me be very, very clear. I have done nothing wrong.
The indictment charges DeLay with conspiring with Ellis and Coliandro to violate the Texas Election Code by contributing corporate money to candidates for the Texas legislature.
Tom DeLay's cheerful demeanor in the courtroom is, I think, brilliant stage management. I mean, if you want to take a mugshot away from the press, have the perp smile.
The indictment describes a scheme whereby corporate money, which cannot be given to candidates in Texas, was sent to the Republican National Committee, where it was exchanged for money raised from individuals and then sent to those Texas legislative candidates.
Well, I'll tell you that. I wanted to answer that question about the RNC that you keep asking. Tom DeLay didn't have any contact with the RNC on this matter, period. No way. Never talked to him, never talked to anybody about him.
Mr. Britton, you have personal bond there?
Okay. He's gotten to the point where he was considered Teflon, that he could just do about anything, and nothing would seem to stick. To me, it's kind of a surprise that somebody did do, Ronnie Earl did file charges against him. It's kind of a surprise to me.
And I'll tell you something else, too, about people that support Tom and why they support him. It's kind of like they used to say about that. I think Sam Rayburn said it about Lyndon Johnson. He may be a sumbitch, but he's our sumbitch.
If the funds were sought and obtained from corporations in order to channel the funds to individual candidates, once those candidates received the funds, the crime was complete. That is a devastatingly clear statement. It sets out the prosecutor's burden of proof. And the judge goes on to say, this is true even if the funds were originally lawfully received.
What Tom DeLay is facing in terms of punishment is 2 to 5 on one charge and 5 to life on the other. Now, you know, it's unlikely that he's going to go to jail for life, but he's facing the prospect of jail time in Texas. Jail time in Texas is, you know, locked up in a cell with a guy named Bubba is serious business. You know, Tom DeLay is now officially damaged goods.
How did it go in there?
Had Ronnie Earl not handed down the indictments against Tom DeLay, as we speak today, Tom DeLay would be the majority leader of the United States House. He's not, and it's unlikely that he ever will be again.
3 years down the road, when a statute of limitations is running out and about to be over, people contrive to put together conspiracy counts, stretch the law, stretch the facts, and you end up under felony indictment.
Good morning. This morning I appeared before the court, and through motions I emphatically stated what I have maintained all along during this unfortunate episode. I have committed no wrongdoing. I know that, and more importantly, Ronnie Earl knows that.
We now know, and what we didn't know then, unbeknownst to us, is that Tom DeLay agreed to come to Texas and meet with Ronnie Earl. If this wasn't high noon, with slapping leather and drawing their guns, it was the two men sitting down in the same room after DeLay had vilified Ronnie Earl. And he ended up admitting something that he had done that led Ronnie Earl to hand down the indictments.
They asked me to come in, and it was about an hour and a half long, and we went over it, and basically what I showed them was, yes, it was my idea to set up TrimPAC. I got it all organized. Then the people that ran it, John Caliandro and Jim Ellis, ran the day-to-day operations. I and 4 other elected officials were on an advisory board. I went to 5 fundraisers. They did use my name to raise money. Because of actions that I took through the democratic process to rid this very legislature of years of unfair gerrymandering by Texas Democrats, I became a target for Ronnie Earl.
The money laundering indictment was devastating. It is a major crime to take funds that are illegal and attempt to make them legal.
I am a target, ladies and gentlemen, but I shouldn't have to tell you, you know me so well. I am nobody's victim.
That's right.
And because Ronnie Earl and the Democrat Party could not beat me at the ballot box and could not beat me on the floor of the House of Representatives, they are now desperately trying to challenge me in a courtroom. Ronnie Earl does this to all his public enemies and political enemies. He did it to conservative Democrats. He's a liberal Democrat. He did it, and he does it to Republicans. And particularly in my case, he did it in conjunction and working with the Democrat leadership here in Washington, D.C.
Well, that's an explosive charge you make, that there was some sort of collusion or conspiracy between Ronnie Earl and Nancy Pelosi and other Democratic leaders in the Congress. What evidence, if any, do you have to back that up?
It's very good evidence that they announced this strategy.
Who announced this?
The DCCC, the Democrat Campaign Committee run by Chairman Rahm Emanuel.
They announced that they were working with Ronnie Earl to get you an indictment?
They didn't do that.
Well, what evidence is there they consulted with Ronnie Earl, that they talked to him, or they had any dealings with him whatsoever?
Well, that evidence is coming. In short, I have been charged for defeating Democrats. I have been charged for advocating constitutional representation. And I have been charged for advancing the Republican agenda. Ronnie Earl will not rule the day. The facts and the law will rule the day. I look forward to presenting those facts and putting my faith in the law and order to welcome my inevitable exoneration. Thank you once again for this opportunity to talk to y'all. Have a nice day.
Power, control, dominance, that is what drives him. Because it's at any cost, and because he is the man, he is the dictator, he is the federal government, then he acts as if he doesn't have to answer to anyone. But we'll see if he has to answer to this jury, and he's going to have to answer to the people in November.
And Tom, I know we all look forward to the day that I can say, ladies and gentlemen, our House Majority Leader again.
Do you hope and expect that Tom DeLay will return to be Majority Leader?
Yes. Oh, I don't know whether I can expect that. I hope that he will.
Why?
Because I like him, and plus, when he's over there, we get our votes through the House.
You know a thing or two about Texas politics. So what is your judgment of the prosecutor in the case, Ronnie Earl?
I'm not going to go there, simply because I want this trial to be conducted as fairly as possible. And the more politics that are in it, the less likely it's going to be fair.
Do you believe he's innocent?
DeLay? Yes, I do.
You know, it's really hard for the Republican House Conference to say goodbye to Tom DeLay because more than any other member of Congress, he raised the money and he got them elected. So it's tough to say goodnight, even though he becomes a political liability for them. There's scandals swirling around him. I mean, there's Jack Abramoff, there's Trim PAC, there's $50,000 that American Indians paid for him to play golf in Scotland.
There's only a certain amount of time that the Republicans can last without knowing who their leadership team is going to be and who's going to take them into the '06 elections. But there's a certain point, I don't know what it is, but they know, it's in their internal clock, when DeLay becomes toast.
I guess, as most of you have probably heard by now, earlier today I asked Speaker Hastert to convene the House Republican Conference as soon as possible for the purpose of electing a new majority leader. As you know, I am still a candidate for re-election this November, and I plan to run a very vigorous campaign, and I plan to win it. Today, I am announcing my intention to resign my seat in the House. I will make that resignation effective sometime before mid-June, but largely dependent on the congressional calendar. I plan to begin focusing on the next phase of my life as a private citizen.
He's hitting the road.
He's quitting.
It was a stunner. And now, Tom DeLay
Is leaving Congress. He won't seek re-election.
He'll resign.
Hanging up his hat.
I'm really excited about getting out, being a leader for the conservative cause. I'm not leaving, I'm just changing arenas. Actually, it may be the worst day of the Democrats' life. They're turning me loose.
He informed me of his decision. Just days after one of his senior former aides, pleads guilty to conspiracy charges. He's calling it quits.
Unexpectedly announced that Tom DeLay has decided to walk away from Congress completely after 21 years.
We changed the culture of Washington, D.C., not just taking the majority. We changed the culture of this town. We changed the country. We've changed the world.
I wished him all the very best. Could this mean the feds are close to nailing the hammer?
He's looking to the future. Every seat is precious to the Republican majority.
Are you going to campaign nationwide for the Republican majority?
I hope so. I hope I can get involved in specific districts.
Does Ronnie Earl win by you resigning?
He may win this battle, but in the end, we're going to give him a pretty good Texas whooping. I hope I'm part of the next presidential election.
The root of the evil of the corporate and large moneyed interest domination of politics is money.
When was it first discussed that corporate money would be raised by Texans for Republican majority?
at the very earliest stages.
I mean, this is in the Bible. I mean, this isn't rocket science. The root of all evil truly is money, especially in politics.
I'm hopeful that all of this brings public attention to the point that laws have been broken, that people have violated the law in order to gain power and influence in government.
We can't any longer exist as a democracy unless we come to grips with that problem and we unite as a people and stop it.
And I want to remind people in Boston that we are under the Voting Rights Act because of the historical violation of the rights of minority peoples in the South.
The Justice Department memo said that the map that was drawn by Tom DeLay and his cronies violated the Voting Rights Act.
The fix is in, because nobody's going to put out a bill that violates the Voting Rights Act unless they think they can get it through. And now, did DeLay do it? I suspect it came from the White House, that Bush, that the White House needed, as DeLay needed, these 5 seats that they got in Texas to shore up the Republican majority.
The 5 votes that Tom DeLay picked up by redrawing the state congressional lines in Texas, it changed history.
There was a very real revolution in this country.
Our democracy, that thin rug of democracy is being slipped out from under us. Our common sense priorities as a people, our values of fairness and justice, equal opportunity for all people, being undermined, being done in the Congress by less than a 5-vote majority.
We're going after it, and we're going to completely redesign our government.
You take the last year's budget bill that knocked 300,000 people off of food stamps. It took 3 million children out of the health care program. It's devastating, particularly to poor people.
I would like to eliminate the Department of Education, the Department of Energy, the HUD, the Housing and Urban Development Department.
Other votes, the Central American Free Trade Agreement, CAFTA, an absurd infringement on our sovereignty. CAFTA allows corporate interests to bypass our own laws and to overturn our own laws. That passed with less than 5 votes. Those are the 5 votes that Tom DeLay picked up here in Texas with his Soviet-style rigging of the system. You can see it in the energy bill. An energy bill that shortchanges renewable energy again, makes us more dependent on foreign oil. At the same time, it gave more than $2 billion in new subsidies to oil corporations. ExxonMobil just made $100 billion for the year. I don't think they need new subsidies, but nonetheless, by a majority of less than 5 votes, Tom DeLay got that done.
You know, people talk about how money is the mother's milk of politics. Well, it's the devil's brew. And what we got to do, we got to turn off the tap.
DeLay became emblematic of the corruption of our political system, corruption by big money, which is why Congress ranks down around mad cow disease level in voter approval. The reigning political powers in the Republican Party hope that since Tom DeLay went away, that so did all the scandal, and therefore there's no need for any significant reform. You've got this cast of characters that's coming right along behind him, however, that are exactly Tom DeLay clones.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think all of you are aware that Congressman DeLay has decided not to seek re-election and is likely to resign from the House. And as a House Republican who's spent the last 15 years working with Tom DeLay, he's been a great asset to our party. And when it comes to cutting taxes, when it comes to lessening the overreach of regulations on our economy, balancing the federal budget, Tom DeLay has been a real leader, and we owe him a great debt of gratitude. This week, the House...
It's a scream to see John Boehner step in as DeLay's replacement, because he was hailed as the reform candidate, which is just a hoot to anybody who has followed Congress at all, and Boehner in particular. He's known as Suntan Johnny because even though he's from Ohio, he spends a lot of time in Florida, flying on corporate jets with corporate lobbyists to go down and go golfing and have luxury dinners and just schmooze with the lobbying crowd. This is the same guy, by the way, that was caught about 8 or 9 years ago handing out checks from tobacco companies on the floor of the House of Representatives to members of Congress while tobacco legislation was being considered. This guy is, this is reform? Well, Roy Blunt is a lot of fun, as not only was he DeLay's #1 assistant when DeLay was majority leader, he was the whip, but also he even hired Ellis, the former DeLay aide who got indicted.
As far as anybody that wants to know anything with a proper investigative ability, such as justice or ethics, we're more than happy to talk to them.
And then you've got Bob Ney, who is representative #1 in the Abramoff investigation, designated by the prosecutors. This is a guy who went on a golfing trip with Jack Abramoff and took money from him.
You know, the B and the media are working overtime to try and make us look bad on this. Our consciences are clear, and we're going to submit on our record to the electorate.
And then there's John Doolittle, who's caught up in the same money for legislative favors that got Randy Duke Cunningham a jail term. Corporate money really runs Washington, D.C. now. Yeah, I know labor unions make some contributions, and there are other groups that make donations, but overwhelmingly, the money is corporate money. A very narrow spectrum in our society. Corporate executives are able, through their campaign contributions, not only to get favors done for them, but to control the legislative agenda.
This involves a group of corporations in order to curry favor with powerful elected officials, and in order to have greater influence over the regulatory functions of government, put together illegal, secret corporate contributions and use that money to take over the electoral politics of a state, take over state elections in one particular state. And they're going to take it to a state near you next, if they get away with it here.
You're absolutely right about Ronnie Earl. I just add, he also had a film crew following him around during the secret grand jury process. And they put out a movie to use against me in my re-election. Unfortunately, that movie's worthless right now, which makes me feel pretty good.